All right.
100%. Alrighty. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much all for jumping on. My name is Hannah. I'm a fellow Suffolk County member. I'm currently in Smithtown, New York. However, I'm working very remotely, um, basically out of Harrisburg or Dauphin County, Pennsylvania, where I'm a field organizer with the coordinated campaign. Um, Here in Pennsylvania, we are working very hard to elect Democrats at every level, and we thought that bringing the importance of our work to some volunteers and supporters in a state like New York, where the capacity of New Yorkers can really help out in a swing state, we thought this would be a really good idea. It kind of harvested out of me joining the Suffolk for Biden group, being really inspired by the work that you're doing and the capacity of having such an awesome group of dedicated volunteers. I ended up reaching out to Leanne about it, considering doing a partnership, maybe getting some of the volunteers from Suffolk County to connect with, volunteer, make some calls into Dauphin County, Pennsylvania, which is located in the south central area of the state. So in this presentation, we're basically going to go over all of the work we're doing, give you the lowdown on some of the candidates, why this area is so important, and how you can be a part of the work that we're doing. So thank you all for joining. I'm just going to flip it over to Noah really fast, another field organizer in Dauphin County. So Noah, if you want to introduce yourself and say hello.
Hey, yeah, I'm Noah. I am originally from New Jersey, went to school in Delaware, and now I'm living in Lancaster County in Pennsylvania, so right next to Dauphin County. And I also am an organizer for Dauphin. I cover more like Harrisburg area, and then Hannah covers more of like Hershey. Those are probably like the two main places in Dauphin that you would know of if you're not from Pennsylvania. Maybe the other spots less so, but yeah, it's a really awesome place to get involved. We're really excited to work with you all. Again, I'm not from Long Island, but I'm from Jersey, which, you know, if anyone wants to argue over who has better bagels, we could do that too. Um, but yeah, so we're just gonna go into this. So yeah, little background Pennsylvania as a whole. I know you all have been making some calls into PA, so some of this might be like slightly repetitive. Yeah. Well, can be a debate for another time, Leanne. But um yeah, so I know some of you know some of this stuff, but always good to have a reminder. Before 2016, the last time a Republican nominee for president won Pennsylvania was 1988. In 2016, Trump won PA by less than 1 percentage point, which is also 5 votes in every precinct. So that's something we really like to emphasize, because if you have one good conversation with a voter this entire election cycle where you change their mind or you persuade them to vote for Joe Biden where they might not have been doing so before, that could be all the difference if every volunteer just has that one interaction. So it has the sixth most votes in the Electoral College, and most paths to the White House for Democrats run through Pennsylvania. There are very few scenarios in which we win the election and we lose Pennsylvania. So it's really important that we have everybody's help. And I like to say flipping Pennsylvania back to blue is like will be like turning on a light switch. Like we just gotta turn it back on. We can do it. We totally can.
Yeah, so a little bit more about Dauphin County, PA, where Noah and I are working. Dauphin is one of the most important places, arguably the most. We think we're really important, but across the state, the bigger cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh definitely get a lot of attention, but in a city with like Harrisburg and in this county, there's so much potential here that often gets overlooked. And we are trying really hard to tap into the capacity of people in Harrisburg, in the suburbs outside of Harrisburg, and getting them on board to join us. Outside of Harrisburg, there is, it's a bit more rural, so the county's pretty big, but there are 5 of us organizing in Dauphin. So clearly there's a lot of emphasis on making this county vote blue, voting extra blue this November. Um, so yeah, you can all read this. We don't need to go too into depth. Um, Here, we voted for Hillary as a county in 2016, but it wasn't super strong. It was a very light voting blue. So we're trying really hard to get Dauphin to go even more blue this year. We're not taking that vote for granted. And what we pull from Dauphin County that we didn't turn out is just going to help the state even more vote blue in November. Yeah, and we're gonna build up the excitement from Obama, continue that enthusiasm and invest in our volunteers and provide opportunities to as many people as possible who wanted to get involved. Another really cool thing about Dauphin, not only does it have just like an untapped resource of supporters and Democrats, we also are the home to a lot of really, really cool and important races going on this year. And in the next slide or in a couple slides, Noah's going to touch on some of the candidates who are running, one of which is Eugene D. Pasquale. He is running for Congress in Pennsylvania's 10th district. He's endorsed by President Obama, but he also, not but, and this race is seen to be arguably the most flippable in the state and even in the country. Pennsylvania as a state is investing a lot into this race, but even across the US, people recognize that PA 10 has a lot of potential to vote blue. Also, I don't see the chat, so if you have a question, Vincent or Noah, if you want to just flag it.
Yeah.
But
For sure. Yeah, we have a lot of amazing down ballot candidates in Dauphin. Yeah, I have that picture in there of the ones that Obama endorsed in his first wave. Super exciting. Eugene for Congress obviously is a huge one. It is, I will say that affirmatively, it is the most flippable seat in Pennsylvania right now for Congress. And Democrats, we have the House, but we have to keep that and we have to expand our margin. So super important race. George Scott ran for that seat in 2018. He came super, super close, and now he's running for state Senate. Also a super tight race. It's the first local state Senate race in history that the Koch brothers have decided to get involved in. So that's how you know that it is a big one, and that it's winnable because Republicans feel pretty threatened by it. Patty Smith, this is her second time running for this seat in House District 104. She came really close last time. We're definitely going to elect her this time. Patty Kim, unopposed, strong Democratic area in Harrisburg, so she's good. Brittany Rodas, she's running against if you guys read that news story about how a Republican member of the Pennsylvania House of Delegates tested positive for COVID and then continued to go to work, and all the Republicans in the House hid it, and they didn't tell the Democratic colleagues, and they were just spreading COVID around. That's her opponent, who had COVID and continued to go to work and didn't tell the rest of the elected officials there. So definitely got to get her in there, get that guy out. And Lindsay Drew, another super, super tight race. And we love all our female candidates too. So these are just really exciting races that we have here in Dauphin. And we are also trying to flip the Pennsylvania state legislature. So that can also be done, and it can be done with these candidates.
Awesome. Thanks, Noah. And I'll also just add, although we haven't explicitly written them here, also endorsed by Obama are some of our statewide candidates who on the state level, we're pouring a lot of resources into. So Josh Shapiro running for Attorney General for re-election. Josh Shapiro actually won Pennsylvania by a margin larger than Trump won Pennsylvania. So clearly we have the Democratic capacity here. We just need to channel it in the right direction. Nina Ahmad, first time running for Auditor General. I think she would make history winning that seat. And Joe Torsella, who's also running again for Treasurer. Yeah, so this is how we win. We have to get 50% plus one of the vote, but we're going to need a lot of help to do so. So, there's so many things you can do from home. Although we're not in person, it allows the opportunity for people like you who are not physically in Pennsylvania, people like me who are also physically not in Pennsylvania, giving us the chance to have a stake in this race, to have an impact and support the Democratic capacity on the ground. The main way we're trying to do that is phone banking. We have regular phone banks where you call through a list one by one, which I think most of you are pretty familiar with at this point. We also have an auto dialer, which we run multiple days a week. And for our future phone banks with combined Dauphin and Suffolk, we're definitely going to try and overlap that with our dialer times to make sure that you all have the option to use that. Since it's super duper effective, you have tons and tons of conversations. And we're able to reach a lot of people in a really short period of time through the auto dialer. We are rolling out text banking. It's a slow process, so as we get more information, we can definitely share it. And then, as we have here, other action items that may arise. So we're going to take it week by week. See what opportunities we have available. The digital team with the PA Dems just is a Santa Claus bag of gifts. They're always coming up with new ideas and um, rolling out different types of technology. So we will be sure to share those opportunities with you as they come about. And yeah, as it says here, we are pushing for Democrats down ballot. The reason we introduce you to the folks that we're working with here in Dauphin is because they're just their success is just important to us as the success of Joe Biden is, especially because the local candidates are who is going to affect these people's lives every single day. And it's important that we invest in these people who are eventually going to be the Joe Bidens of the world and give them the chance to help lead our communities in Dauphin County. What about door knocking? I guess this slide is more applicable to people who are on the ground physically, but yeah, we're not doing anything in person. Trump can do what he wants. He can put his campaign at risk. The health and safety of our volunteers and our supporters is our number one priority, higher than number one priority. So right now we're keeping it remote. We're just gonna take it week by week, but definitely until September 15th, the campaign is all remote, and then after that, we might be reevaluating our
So,
plans.
Hannah, the question in the chat from Jeffrey Vogel, he asks, when does early voting begin in Pennsylvania?
Good
A
question.
great question.
So Pennsylvania, yeah, I'll just skip to this that way. Actually, can we pause that question for now?
We'll
The
keep it
slide
on
is
ice.
basically done. Yeah, if anyone has any other questions about the slideshow, I could stop sharing my screen and then we can come back for like a whole question and answer session. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen then. Cool. Okay. Hi, everyone. I couldn't see your faces on there. Um, that was a very good question. And actually, I think Vincent and Leanne, we can talk about a time to do this, but training you all on how to be advocates on vote by mail in Pennsylvania when you are on the phones is definitely something we want to equip you all on. We are doing our first vote by mail training this weekend with our volunteers. So we'll see how it goes. And then, based on that, we can share that information with the Dauphin phone bankers. Basically, Pennsylvania does not have early voting in the way that New York does. We're pretty spoiled here. But what Pennsylvania does have is a really, really good system for mail-in voting, something that New York only has with absentee, and thanks to Cuomo, he expanded it a little bit. But Pennsylvania has its own independent option for vote by mail. So even if you are out of the area, or if you're in the area, voting by mail is a perfectly fine option. It's the same exact type of option as going in person. You don't need an excuse. You don't need to be out of town. You don't need to be sick. You can just vote by mail for the sake of voting by mail. So although Pennsylvania does not have early voting, they have this very interesting system where between September 14th and October 27th, when you're able to request your mail-in ballot, which ends October 27th, the request dates, you can go in person to your polling place. Or your Board of Elections, you can fill out a mail-in ballot there. You request your mail-in ballot, you can go to a little area, fill out your mail-in ballot, and give it back to the people at the Board of Elections, and that counts as mail-in voting. Because basically, you going to a different area of the Board of Elections where you have privacy with your ballot, it's the same as picking up your ballot at the Board of Elections, going home, and then bringing it back. So voters have the opportunity to do that between September 14th and October 27th. I'm like looking up a little bit because I have like Post-its on all the important dates I need to know above my computer to reference them. But yeah, that is one way that people are voting this election.
And we are calling that early voting. So we're telling people you can go into your county board of elections and fill out a ballot and vote early. The reason that it's technically not early voting is because as of right now, this is being litigated, so it could change. But as of right now, the state of Pennsylvania is not legally allowed to count the ballots until November 3rd. So that's why it's technically not traditional early voting, but we are referring to it as early voting on the phones and with voters. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, how many Board of Election offices are there in Dauphin County? I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's just one. It's in Harrisburg. There should be, I don't want to say there should be. There should be, in my opinion. I don't know if it's going to happen. There will hopefully be drop boxes like there were in the primaries for people to drop their ballots off in other places throughout the county in case they don't want to send it back through the mail. As of right now, there are not. The supervisor of the Board of Elections in Dauphin County is a little wacky, so haven't really been able to get an answer from him yet as to whether they're going to set up the drop boxes, but hopefully that will happen.
And if you have any questions at this point, you can probably unmute and ask if you'd like. You don't need to just go in the chat. Oh, and Rose has a few questions in the chat, actually. Are we going to get phone bank training of a script as well as the list of people to call? And will you be sending out this presentation after the call so we can have the stats on the slides handy? As for the last question, we are recording this and the video will be uploaded if you want to go over it. But you can take the first one.
Yep. So are you going to get a phone bank training? So we could do this either like kind of two ways. We could come on to your next phone bank meeting for Suffolk. Just gave away I'm not really from here, but we could come on to your next meeting and do a phone bank training beforehand for everyone who wants, or we could send you all the information for every time we're doing a phone bank training for people in Dauphin County. And you could hop onto those if like the other times don't work for you. So there's a lot of times and like opportunities that we'll be able to train everybody. Are we going to with the script as well as a list of people to call? Yeah, so there's always a script and there's always like a list of people, and we walk you through the whole thing. We don't just say like, okay, here, start making calls. Yeah, Mark.
Yeah. So I have one technical question and then a broader question. So is the auto dialing or predictive dialing? Is it the type of program where it basically dials numbers for you and then you wait to see if somebody picks up or not? Or is it the type of program that only puts somebody on the line if it's a live person or a answering machine?
Sure. So we have both opportunities. We are definitely, because to my understanding, you've only been working with general phone bank lists where you manually call those numbers one by one. We have those opportunities for those phone banks, but we also have the predictive dialer, like you said, where you call into the computer, it generates the calls one by one or goes through the numbers and then blasts a conversation to you at the right time. So we have both. I think that bringing the auto dialer to this group is definitely a good way to introduce you to the tool, and also just for you to have more conversations with people. But of course, it's open to everyone's preference, which type of calls they prefer to make.
Well, we have a couple of good congressional races here, by the way, in Suffolk County.
Oh, I know.
Some pretty hot ones.
Yeah,
With
I'm a
some,
huge Nancy Goroff fan.
okay. And then, Jackie Gordon's a great candidate too. So,
Excellent. Yep.
and, we think that both those seats are flippable. But when we've done, I've used both kinds of auto dialing before. And when we had a training with Nancy Goroff's people for phone banking, I didn't even realize this before. If you just do the dial the number yourself type of phone banking, people, let's say from your cell phone, people can see your number.
Yep. Well, if you put star 67 beforehand, you can put your number as restricted if you're using the old system.
Every time you dial, you have to do.
You would, yeah. But with the predictive dialer, obviously your number won't come up.
Yeah, and it's far more, obviously everybody who's used it. I know it's expensive, and that's a problem. It can be a problem, but it's also far more efficient and productive than just dialing phone numbers and hope that you get somebody on the phone. You all know that. I don't have to tell you that. So my more general question is, how do we get more people in our area interested in working with you folks who are working in Pennsylvania? And starting in November 9th, 2016, I started thinking next time we have to go to the battleground states and work there. And I've made that pitch. I'm part of a group called South Country Unites, which is a very active group on the South Shore of Long Island. I also have worked a lot with Resist and Replace, which is a group in East Hampton. Every time I've made the pitch that for the last 3.5 years, that we really need to work in a place like Pennsylvania where it matters so much in the 2020 election, everybody nods and says that's a great idea, and then nobody actually wants to do it. So before the virus, it was about, we're not going to get in a bus and drive, go 5 hours or 7 hours to get to some place in Pennsylvania. Now, I don't see really the difference in terms of effort because nobody's phone banking, except maybe Trump people, that I don't see what the difference is between working in Pennsylvania or working in Suffolk County. So maybe if you shared the presentation in a PDF format, I would like to try to recruit more people from our group, which has about more than 140 people on our email list. Even if an email yielded 4 more people, that would be a lot, who would be willing to try it, And so if you think that there's a better way, I would like to get some help trying to recruit more people, because I think the concept is absolutely correct.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And we can definitely provide you the slideshow so that you can share it with your respective groups. As far as like how Suffolk wants to go about this, I'll leave Vincent and Leanne to that. But as people working in this area, like I'm from Suffolk County, I know what this area is like. I drive around and really sometimes think I'm in the South. But at the end of the day, we know where our state's going to fall. And if we have the capacity to support another state that does not have that blue vote as easily as we do, it's a really good place to invest our effort and our time. Many of us have been to Pennsylvania before working this job. I've been to Hershey Park more times than I can count, and now I organize Democrats there. Pennsylvania is close to home. How Pennsylvania votes really matters. And just because we might not feel the brunt of Republican vote here doesn't mean that others aren't going to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I think
I have ties to Pennsylvania also. Well, first of all, who was it? Noah grew up in New Jersey, so did I. So
where?
From New Jersey, Trenton.
Cool. Okay. I'm from West Orange, like North Jersey.
Yeah, that's a whole different world. But
Yeah.
I'm from the real New Jersey. So, um, but and my sister, one of my sisters and her husband and their family live outside of Philadelphia. So I've got ties to Pennsylvania. Um,
Definitely.
and
And
maybe I
yeah,
can talk them into doing this too. I mean, that's
Yeah.
yeah, we
awesome.
have plenty of friends in Philadelphia who could get them set up with candidates local to them as well. Um, And just, to give you the scope of what Pennsylvania looks like right now, Noah and I are two of about 200 organizers working in Pennsylvania. The state is carved up into little small pieces so that each of us can have our own area of land that we organize in and that we work in. The Democrats are investing so much into Pennsylvania because there's so much opportunity here. And like, if Biden doesn't win Pennsylvania, honestly, I think the campaign's failed. This state has the most promise. It's the most opportunity. 5 votes per precinct is not a hard metric to get. We just have to do the work.
Mhm.
I also really like to emphasize to people, like, for me, 2016 was the first election I could vote in, and I voted, and that was all I did. And I was like, I did my part. I voted,
Mhm.
but I didn't do anything to get Hillary Clinton elected other than voting in New Jersey, which is already a safe blue state. And I want to wake up on November 4th, no matter the outcome of the election, and be able to tell myself I did everything I could. And I think that's something that we really need to like get to resonate with people.
Mhm.
And
How
with
do
the
you, I've never phone banked out of state. So how do you, if we phone bank here for local candidates or even for Biden combined with local candidates, it's easy to say, I'm a neighbor from Bellport, which is where we have a house and where I'm registered to vote on the South Shore of Long Island. And that, that works pretty well no matter where you're calling to in Suffolk County. But how do you, if I don't know, I guess people can't easily tell by your accent. Like if you were calling into Georgia, it would be pretty easy to tell
Yeah.
that you were an out of stater. Um, but how do you deal with the fact that you're not really well? Hannah, you're actually, I mean, you're working there as an organizer. Do you get pushback from people and say well, where are you from, or why are you doing this from Long Island, or what happened?
Yeah, no, that's a good question because I do clarify a lot of times that I am located here and I'm not from there. I say my name like Hannah, even though in my heart I'm a Hannah. Um, um, it just, I think, like we said, people out of the area recognize we're not from Dauphin. At the end of the day, it's a decision for people in Dauphin to make. But we're giving them the tools, we're giving them the information, we're allowing them the opportunity to make the most informed decision they can make. We're not the ones going to the polls for them. So although at times it might feel like we're calling for them and doing this for people in an area we don't live, this is something we believe in. You're working with the state party. We're not just calling random people out of nowhere. This is an effort that we're all taking part in. If it comes up, it is what it is. You're not from there, and that's just a reality of it. But like we said, Pennsylvania is really important, and if they're Democrats and they care, I think they'll be appreciative to know that people out of state um, are trying to help them win.
I also think that even if you're not from the same geographical region as people, you can always find something in common with them. So if somebody says to you, like, I am really worried about my health care, like, I'm sure people in your area who are going to be making these calls can have a personal story that will relate to that and be able to talk to those people and say, listen, I'm from New York and I'm having the same problems as you, and I know Joe Biden can be the one who can fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And especially like just another issue, like Suffolk County has tons and tons of public school. Not a lot of people go to private school. Just finding comparisons like that because public schools in these areas are very important, and having conversations about education, I think, is very high on people's agenda right now. So just, yeah, finding ways to connect, finding similarities, even if geographically they're different.
In Suffolk County, especially Eastern Suffolk County, where you're sort of out of the zone of New York City suburbs, you're not in a bedroom community. It's like, past Patchogue, basically. The culture and the political dynamics are very, very similar to Pennsylvania. And like not just in how people vote, but even in just like the ethnicities you see, and the ethnic groups. And it's like there's a higher German proportion. You have a lot more of this type of like white working class voter. So there's a big cultural relation between the kind of people we're talking to out here on Long Island and the kind of people that you're going to run into in Dauphin.
Okay, that's interesting. And do people express resentment of New Yorkers in particular, getting involved in their election? Because New Yorkers are not necessarily that popular elsewhere in the country.
Yes, and like, no, honestly, is my answer. A lot of people from Pennsylvania are from New York, they're from New Jersey, they're from Brooklyn. Like, a lot of people have connections to Pennsylvania, like in a past life, they lived in New York. So, um, although they want to have it, I think geographically they're so close together that it's New Yorkers are neighbors to them.
I also will say, like, because I live with other organizers, and one of them organizes in a county where, like, she does not let a single out-of-state person touch it because they are so insular, and Dauphin is not like that. Like, I have not experienced that at all here.
Okay.
I have a few logistical questions. Is there going to be like a cadence? Because I know you said that you can join meetings, but are we going to get sent invites that we can put on our calendar to make these calls?
So, like
Does
our
that question
current,
make sense?
yeah, our current Suffolk Providing like idea for this and the way we're going to coordinate is we aim to do like a weekly phone bank with the Dauphin Dems, likely on Wednesday evenings. If you're in this Zoom, we have your email, so that's going to be in our weekly newsletter, and you'll have a Zoom sign up, and we'll get together like this and go over how to start making calls, and we'll make those calls. So that'll be like the logistics of how we're going to be doing these phone banks.
Awesome. And can we make the calls via the apologies if my questions are kind of like
No, totally. Go ahead.
Novice. So are we going to make the calls via the computer or on cell phones? What is it? The direct dial?
Yeah, good question. So it's most convenient when you're making calls to have a computer and a phone. The computer will have the script. It'll be where you click through. It'll show you like, hey, like ask them if they support Biden, and then you'll be able to click they support Biden or they don't support Biden. So that'll all be on the computer, and then your phone will be like the communicating talking vessel. So you'll follow the script, you'll look on the screen, and then you'll be able to speak into your phone and have a conversation with a voter. Depending on if you use the regular phone banks, you'll be manually typing in those numbers. You'll be having a conversation with them on the phone like you have with your friends. Whereas with the predictive dialer, the computer is going to generate the calls. And the way how I've been describing it, it's like kind of like if you called into a Zoom call where it's on your computer, but you're speaking into your phone and you hear it on your phone. That's kind of like how the predictive dialer works. The conversation will visually be on your screen, but you'll be able to talk into your phone and speak to the voter that you're reaching through your phone.
Okay, cool. I'm excited to do this.
Yay! We're excited too. This is fun. I think that personally being able to combine the place I grew up and this new working turf, I think there's a lot of potential, and we're doing, if we all sat here and gloated in the fact that we're from New York and we're a safe Democratic seat, that's helping no one. So this is really important work. Pennsylvania is really, everything is happening in Pennsylvania this year, and what happens with Pennsylvania will determine everything else.
Mm-hmm.
A quick point. I'm calling in from Smithtown.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah,
I'm right by West, that area.
Oh, so the high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Yeah,
sure.
that's where I went to school, in the Smithtown Central School, girl. Jeffrey, I see your question. Isn't the predictive dialing using VoIP to make and handle the call? I'm not entirely sure what VoIP is, but
Voice over Internet Protocol.
yes, that is a fancy terminology. Yeah, you could do it through the computer. You could speak into the computer, but there's also a way that you can use it on your phone. But it's not going to use like a personal phone number. It's going to generate a phone number externally. Then it's different than the people who are calling into it.
The national Biden campaign uses Through Talk, which is a predictive dialer, and basically the way it works when I use my phone is on screen will come up with a dial-in number, like a 363 number. You dial that, you enter a PIN, and hit the pound sign. I was going to say hashtag, but that's not the right term for a phone. You hit the pound sign, and then basically you link up with the system. You're basically just sitting on dead air, and then you'll hear a ding, and then on screen will come up the person's name and the script, and you immediately start talking because at that point they've already said hello, and then you basically click these wonderful, colorful buttons, and it guides you through the script. That's like the loose idea of how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll send you like a guide on it. We can, before you actually start, we'll train you on it and make sure you feel comfortable. But the point is to just have as many conversations as possible and have the computer do all the labor that takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a little time to get used to it, but once you've done it once, you're not going to want to go back to dialing one number.
Yeah. Even just today, I had some new volunteers try it out. He did a open phone bank list last week and the dialer today, and he was like, "This is amazing. I'm never doing the old way again. So much more effective, a lot more fun." And I think for people who are looking for something like speedy and fun in a time where life is very slow, the dialer is a good way to do that.
Yeah, you can kind of make a game out of it, actually. And a question, where does the data go? So any kind of phone banking these days, on the screen, you're going to be clicking on strong Biden supporter, undecided, strong Trump, whatever it is. They all have different menus, basically, of information that they're seeking about the person that you've spoken to. So here in Suffolk County, the candidates all rely on something called VAN, right? And that aggregates the data somewhere. I'm not really sure where. But then later on in the campaign, that data gets analyzed and massaged, and the lists get more and more focused, and the purpose of the calls gets more and more specific. And so what's happening down in Dauphin County, Pennsylvania? Like, where's the data going? Who's working with the data, and so forth?
Mark, we should hire you because you really know how data works on this campaign. Yeah, so the state party has quite an elaborate data team. The guy who runs it is named Evan. He is a data wizard. Basically, we work through universes, as we call what Mark is referring to, just like these targeted lists of voters and data kind of based on their history, their party affiliation, how consistently they voted in the past, maybe in the area that they're located. As the list we're working with now is, it's people in a persuasion universe because we want to persuade them, but they're also in an area where they're getting like Trump ads. So it definitely varies based on the person. But with these conversations, we're IDing voters, we're figuring out who they support, what they want, but we're also using the time on the phone to reach voters who might need that extra push to go out and vote, might need the extra push to express support for a candidate. Maybe they don't think their vote matters. Maybe they just don't really care about voting. We want to get them to vote. We want to push them to turn out to vote. So that is a large focus of this. But we're also persuading people who are on the fence. Of course, I mean, we're not going to have anyone go have a rogue conversation with a Trump supporter. That's not the point of these calls. There's simply not enough time between now and the election to spend time with the Trump supporter when there are so many people who are undecided. So every few days, we're given new universes of voters that we're going to have conversations with. Even today, we just went through a whole list of voters. So now the data team is going to, produce a new list of people that we're going to reach. So that's constantly being updated and evolving. and allows us on the back end to like understand our strategy, figure out what type of voters need the most guidance and support, and how we can, target our strategy on the people we're reaching. And like the alternate to that, we're not going to spend a ton of time voting or convincing people who always vote, strong Democrat, have been Democrat forever. We're not going to spend our time calling those people either. So it's finding a spot in the middle. Mark, we also use VAN. We are on the like Pennsylvania statewide VAN. So any like list that you'll be using is generated through VAN, and we'll provide you access to that list once you start making calls.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a strong back office behind this. So
yeah,
okay.
Best they got.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So if anyone else has any questions.
One other question, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
When you say phone, the original, you'll start with phone banking one evening, Wednesday evenings. What do you mean by what time are you talking about? What's the time frame?
6:30 p.m.
6:30 to 7:30 or 8?
6:30 to 8. So basically the way we've been doing our general Biden phone banks and the way we hope to run these would be from 6:30 to 7, we're just doing a training on how the system works. And then from 7 to 8, we're making calls. And at 8 o'clock, we reconvene as a group for like 5 minutes just to sort of go over how they went. And if you come to multiple phone banks, so if you're coming every week on Wednesday, you only need to stay for the training once because you already know how the system works. So when you come back the second time, you can just start making calls at 6:30.
Okay. All right.
And if that'll all be in your weekly newsletters when we have that event scheduled.
Mm-hmm. By the way, this is not directly relevant, but I'm a huge fan of Suffolk County for Biden.
Thank you.
I'm talking it up with, and I think more and more people, I think you should be seeing them sign up to be on your email list and so forth, because.
And we're now 1.3 thousand members, which is crazy.
You people are super well organized, and you've got your heads in the right place. So.
Thank you so much. That means a lot because I know your group is one of the best in Suffolk in terms of being organized. I've heard so much, so it really means a lot to hear that from you, Mark.
Thank you. Okay, good.
Any other questions from anybody? Alrighty. Well, I'll let our wonderful organizers close it out for tonight, and then I will see you all for our first phone bank on Wednesday and our weekly meeting tomorrow.
Okay. If somebody can send me the slideshow in a PDF format, I would like to try to recruit. I can't promise anything, but I would like to try to recruit at least a few more people to be working in Dauphin County. So.
I will get that slideshow from Hannah, and I will email that to you along with the video of this meeting.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining. We're excited to work with you all.
Alrighty. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Noah. I really appreciate your taking time out of your day. And this is later than your work day, so I appreciate it.
It's not.
Oh, no? Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I
We never stop
forgot
working.
that, organizers work, like from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. But,
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Alrighty.
Alrighty.
Have a good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
Thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.
Yes.